Welcome to the Kingman City Council meeting held on Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. We'd like to turn some time over to our city clerk, Annie Meredith, for roll call.
Mayor Watkins.
Here.
Councilmember Mello.
Here.
Councilmember Nelson.
Here.
Councilmember Samily.
Here.
Councilmember Scott Staley.
Present.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be given by Pastor John Ramos of Kingman First Southern Baptist Church. I would ask everybody to stand for that, after which I have asked Councilor Samily to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please bow your heads with me. Lord, we come to you on a night that we could be doing many things, and I pray, Lord, that you would bless this council, those that are here, with wisdom beyond their collective years to help our community to grow, keep our first responders safe, that we would be a thriving community in all that we do to accomplish your will. I ask this in the powerful and mighty name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The council may go into executive session for legal counsel in accordance with ARS 38-431.03A3 to discuss any agenda item. The following items may be discussed, considered, and decisions made relating thereto. First, we have appointments. 1A, WACOG Executive Board appointment. The City of Kingman Mayor serves as a member on the WACOG Executive Board. With the resignation of Mayor Miles, the position needs to be formally assigned to Mayor Watkins, and staff recommends approval. I would like to have a motion appointing me to the Executive WACOG Board.
I'll make that motion.
And thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Item 1B, Municipal Utility Commission appointments. The Municipal Utility Commission will have 4 vacancies at the end of December 2022. The mayor and city manager have received and reviewed with staff 2 applications and are recommending the appointment of Paul Baumann and Tyler Wigren, each to a 4-year term beginning on January 4th, 2023, and ending on December 31st, 2027, and staff recommends appointment.
Mayor, that's January 1st, not the 4th.
Oh, it is January 1st, 2023. I'm sorry, thank you. And ending on December 31st, 2027. And staff recommends appointment. Councilor Nelson, I think you are assigned to Municipal Utility Commission.
I am, and I would like to make a motion that we accept the applications for Paul Bowman and Tyler Wigren to their 4-year term beginning January 1.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We love Siri.
No, we don't.
No. Item 2 on our agenda, awards recognition, a proclamation, Fire Prevention Week. And Manager Foggin.
Sir.
Would you like? Should we turn some time over to Sean or Oscar or Beth for this, or should we just go ahead and I should read the proclamation
Actually,
first?
if you would read the proclamation, and then we do have representatives from our community risk reduction team here, and we would absolutely love to have a picture with those folks after you read the proclamation.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you. Whereas the City of Kingman is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our community, and fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And home fires have killed more than 2,761 people in the United States in 2021, according to the National Fire Protection Association. And fire departments in the United States responded to 377,399 home fires. And smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can. alerting you to danger in the event of fire in which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. And working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half. City of Kingman residents who have planned and practice a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And City of Kingman First responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through the 5 E's of community risk reduction: education, engineering, enforcement, economic incentives, and emergency response. City of Kingman residents are responsive to public education measures, are better able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And the 2022 Fire Prevention Week theme, Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape, effectively serves to remind us it is important to have 2 ways out and pre-plan your way out in case of an emergency. Now therefore, I, Ken Watkins, Mayor of the City of Kingman, do hereby proclaim the week of October 9th through the 15th, 2022 as Fire Prevention Week, and urge all the citizens of the City of Kingman to plan your escape for Fire Prevention Week 2022 and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the City of Kingman Fire Department. And I, of course, have signed this proclamation. I would like to invite all of us up then for a
Yeah, if Sean could come up and introduce the team.
Yes.
That would be wonderful, and then we would absolutely love to have a picture.
Mayor and council, I would like to ask Oscar Lopez and Beth Matthews to come up and receive this proclamation, and if we could have y'all come down for a picture.
Great.
You'll have to squeeze in, maybe stagger a couple. I don't have Beth or Oscar, so if one of the ladies on the side can maybe just pop out and squeeze in. There we go. All right. 1, 2, 3. She did. Okay, let me get Beth's phone too. Thank you.
Item number 3 on our agenda, call to the public, comments from the public. Those wishing to address the council should fill out request forms in advance. Action taken as a result of public comments will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for consideration and decision at a later time. Comments from the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda, with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. Clerk Meredith.
Thank you. Mayor Watkins, we did not receive anybody that requested to join us via Zoom. There were no written comments provided in advance, and there's no one in chambers that has signed up to speak this evening.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to item number 4, consent agenda. All matters listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council, are there any items that need to be removed for discussion? Okay, hearing none, can we have a motion for approving our consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Number 5, old business. Item 5A, council vacancy. This item was tabled from the September 6, 2022 meeting for discussion with the full council. The council may fill a vacancy by appointment pursuant to state statute. The process to make that appointment is determined by the council. And of course, council will discuss this in possible action. I would open up to council. Any comments?
I think that my first thought would be what is the thought process of all the council members at this moment of, we have 3 meetings left. We're going to be bringing someone on I guess we have 4 meetings, but on the 4th meeting, actually, there are those of us that will be stepping down and the new council will be stepping on. Do we have enough coming up in the next 3 meetings that we should look at this on a serious level and say, we need to have a full quorum, a full voting council? Or do we look at this and say, okay, this might not be the best thing for the city of Kingman, and I don't know the answer to that. That's the discussion we're about to have, so you guys throw your ideas out.
Well, and you asked a question, I think looking at city manager, if we have anything coming up on the next 3 meetings that would possibly be, that it would require input from another council member.
Well, we always welcome input from all the council members on
course.
all items. I'm not aware of anything, I think you're looking for hot topic items. I'm not really aware of anything that is coming to the council before the first meeting in December. The only thing that I could possibly think of that would be something that would be considered, I don't know that it's necessarily a hot topic item, but the sewer, what am I drawing a blank for? The sewer capacity, thank you. Sewer capacity fees that we've already talked about. I don't think that would come as a surprise to any of the council. That's the only thing that I'm aware of. Of course, there's the planning commission's always doing their thing, but I'm not aware of anything that's a big hot topic item.
Okay. And I think too, as a council, I mean, obviously we cannot discuss things, and I think all of us do a pretty good job of not, going past that limit of who you can discuss things with and who you can't. But I think as a council, we all work together fairly well. I know from talking previous with city manager, I don't foresee anything where we would need that extra vote at this point in time. So my thought process is we wait until that December 1st meeting when we will have new councilors sworn in. But that's the way I'm leaning right now.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilor.
I respectfully disagree.
No, that's how it gets good.
I think we need to fill the council vacancy. We have 2 candidates that have been outright elected by the people, and why not get them started in the process and their opinion? And I tend to agree with Manager Foggin that we need input from everybody. And so that's a vacant seat that's not being able to provide an opinion on any topic that's coming up, whether it be a hot topic or just part of the process. So I'm in favor of filling the council vacancy seat this evening.
Okay, so actually, and you also proposed a method on how to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to propose. I don't know if you want that in a form
No,
of a
not
motion
yet.
yet?
I don't think
Okay.
we're ready for a motion yet, but
So,
you also
yeah.
you brought that up.
Yeah, I feel that a clear determining factor could be the individual that was outright elected that had the most majority of the votes by the public could be seen as the viable council member.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, could I just make one comment?
Yes.
You would not be able to do that this evening.
We wouldn't.
No, tonight is just your ability to provide direction of what you want to do.
Okay.
So the next meeting would be the meeting where you would, if you were to do that, take that action, because the people need to know a specific
Okay,
person that you would be.
well,
dealing
and
with,
since,
or
for
specific
clarification,
individuals.
okay, and then Mr. Cooper, then that being the case, let's say we come up with a person that we approve of next council meeting, would they be sworn in at that same meeting?
You can do that at that meeting. We just have to make sure whoever you're going to have take their seat needs to have open meeting law training prior to that. Because
Okay,
they need to be trained. We can do, I mean, the league puts on open meeting law training for all the new folks, but that's not going to be until November.
after the
Yeah,
election,
After the election, but
Correct.
Annie and I can always jump in and do what we need to do.
right. And I know some of that does come into play with what we're talking about, so,
So
So
one,
there just needs to be some background information that anybody has before they take their seat.
okay?
One other question I have, are both individuals willing to?
The answer
in.
is yes, we've contacted the two that were elected in the primaries, and both have expressed interest in taking the position if the council so chooses to put one in.
Okay,
Thank you.
Are
Good
both here
questions.
this evening?
The answer is yes.
yes,
Thank you. I know I saw one.
yes, Counselor.
So, Carl, they would be able to get that training, both of those individuals, or before the next council meeting, could be sworn in that night and take their seat that night?
Yeah, I think we could, well,
But just
Just one
one
of
of them?
Yeah,
But they both can take the training because they're both going to need it?
well, I would suggest we just do whoever,
one.
if you're doing the top vote getter, we would just probably deal with that person.
Yeah.
That, because it's just going to be an abbreviated, just to get the basics done. And I would suggest we still recommend they go to the league training
Yes,
Yeah,
as well, so.
the big one. I would support that. I like that idea, Cherish.
okay. Yes, Counselor Staley.
I'm sort of neutral on this one. So there would only really be 2.5 meetings left. The only thing is things happen, and if we have a couple people out, this person could help make sure that we have enough to put a meeting forward and to vote on things. And I don't think there's any reason to keep the seat open, and I like the idea of the highest vote getter being the one, so that we're not playing favorites with anybody. So I would be happy to support the will of the council.
Okay, all valid points. I think everybody's weighed in, just about. Keith? Okay. Okay. So what kind of motion would we need then, Carl?
Well, any motion that's what the council desires, if the council's looking to say you would like to do this, then yeah, I would say a motion that notes that the person who received the most votes at the primary would be the person that the council is going to select to fill the current vacancy on the 18th.
And I asked just to make sure we have the right verbiage, is
Yeah.
the reason why in that motion.
So hopefully that was clear.
Okay. I guess if we're done with discussion, can we have a motion then?
I'll make the motion. I'll make a motion that we fill the council vacancy with the top vote getter from the primary election. Help me,
the
Carl.
Next council.
At the next council meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of motion of the person who had received the most votes from the primary back in August be our on city council? Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And that person has some work to do.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, we just want to make sure that they come into an appointment with Annie and I, and then we also need to make sure that they get a copy of the agenda and the agenda packet so they can obviously be prepared for the meeting. So.
Okay,
And
Mr.
also
Fogg?
the requirement that they come to our new elected training after the general election.
yes, that still would be, as Carl mentioned earlier, that would still be a requirement that they,
Well, he's talking about open meeting law. I'm talking about just the training for new elected.
right, that the city puts on besides what the league also puts on.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, great. Item 6, new business. Item 6A, Annie Devine paving. This item is for consideration and approval of repaving of Annie Devine between 5th Street and Beale Street. The proposal also includes the intersection of Beale slash Annie Devine and to ADOT's right-of-way on Route 66. This will complete the removal of failed asphalt on Annie Devine, and staff recommends approval. Manager Wakshi, welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for having me. Just want to give you a quick update on this. As it is, what it says, we're replacing the failed asphalt on Andy Devine. You can see there's some potholes specifically down by the powerhouse. If you guys remember a while back, all the way up El Trove, all the way to Michael, it's been failing. And so this will finish out that project. As it says, we're taking care of a portion of Grandview Beale intersection. What that does, that sets us up for the future for not having to tear out our loops and stuff at the signal. And then we'll take that across toward the bridge on old Route 66 to tie into ADOT's right-of-way. And with that, I'd try and answer any questions you guys might have.
Did you have any kind of diagram, or is that pretty straightforward? It should be, but I mean, in
Yeah.
case the public wanted to make sure that they understood where we're talking about.
I did not bring one tonight. We are starting at 5th Street is where we ended, so we'll take off from that and we will go all the way across the intersection at Beale and Andy Devine.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Saley.
It's okay. You said that you're going to just to the bridge when you get on Old Route 66, or are you gonna, is that where the city limits ends? Is that the bridge?
We actually don't even go to the bridge. We go back, I don't know the exact footage off the top of my head, toward the bridge. ADOT actually went in there and did a overlay on that a while back because that was pretty rough, but we only go back toward the end of the returns, maybe 30, 40 feet from the intersection.
Gotcha. That spot gets so much traffic from all the county employees, and I noticed when we went to the water meeting that it's in rough shape. So it won't get all the way to their driveways then, is that right? Because it goes 66, the bridge, and then their driveway to get in.
Correct.
Well, that's too bad. Okay, thank you.
But I think the roughest portion of that is right there at the intersection where a crosswalk would be. Well, yes, right there
It is.
before the
That
crosswalk.
section's blown out from the binder and the asphalt's just gone, and so it just comes unraveled. And so from that point back is actually all ADOT on the original 66.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Any comments from council or Okay, hearing none, can we have a motion then to recommend Annie Devine paving?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And all those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 6B, Beale Street Infrastructure Project Design Services. This item is for consideration and approval and of addendum to the design scope of work for the Beale Street Infrastructure Project. AARPA funds, ARPA, funds were initially budgeted to complete this project. This triggered an increased procurement requirements, including design, bid, and build requirements. Given the sensitivity of the project area, funds were reallocated to eliminate this requirement. The project is moving to a construction manager at risk delivery method. Staff recommends approval. Once again, Mr. Planty.
You'll see me a couple times tonight. Thanks again for having me up. Just want to provide a little bit of background on this. You covered it in the description, but that's part of what had happened. Initially, we were going down the road for design bid build the way it was budgeted and the funds that were used. We are really happy to be able to do an alternative that allows us a lot more control in the project from the inception all the way through design and into completion. And so what'll end up happening, we'll have another one that's coming up next, which will include the contractor that was selected, but the design engineer will work with us and the consultant to finish off the design. We're pretty far along. They had actually submitted 90% plans. We provided comments back, but we've been holding because per the statute, the contractor, the construction services side has to be able to have an opportunity to provide recommendations for changes, and that's based on value engineering. We'll work through scheduling, phasing, all that stuff will be part of this. So this contractor, this proposal you have in front of you at this item is for the design side. And we are so far into the design, I don't anticipate using everything, but we set it up as you would, coming off a fresh start for a CMAR. And that include post services like as-builts and things like that. Post-construction, sorry.
Projected cost?
For
for a
the,
design build? I mean, because you've changed directions a little bit on this. We're going with this. Is it actually going to save us money by doing this, or is it costing, it's going to cost us more?
so that question's probably more applicable to the next agenda item.
Okay.
This is just on the design side. So
Okay.
it will, there's some additional costs that we had that, for the design side. This is for the engineering firm that's working for us.
Okay,
And there is some increase in that because they are providing more services working through the CMAR process.
the only reason I bring that up, because in the description it says funds were reallocated to eliminate this requirement, so to get a feel of what we're
Oh.
talking about.
So again, I look to Carl for a minute. Those questions are probably more applicable to the construction side than they are to the
So,
design side.
and we'll cover that in the next item?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Any comments?
I just have a
Questions?
question.
Yes.
Yeah, Jack, does this delay the project in any way? Or is
No.
it still pretty much on track?
Yes, so as far as delay the project, it won't delay the project, but what it does do is add time for the contractor and the designer to work in there. So we're looking right now, with the designer and the contractor, we're looking at probably a January start date is what we're looking at. So we can finish design, work through the process. That'll also get us away from Christmas and the holiday season in the downtown area, and then try and provide the least disruption during construction.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Planty? Okay. Can we have a motion then for item 6B, Beale Street Infrastructure Project Design Services?
Mayor, I will move that we accept the Beale Street Infrastructure Project Design Services.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. 6C, Beale Streetscape and Improvements, CMAR. This item is for consideration and approval of a design services contract for the Beale Street Streetscape and Infrastructure Project. And of course, staff recommends approval.
Great, thank you. So to answer some of the questions that were related to that. So as it indicates, we went from a design, bid, build, which you take the lowest bidder and you go into the project, to doing an alternative, which is a construction manager at risk. So you guys have been through that, but for the public's sake, we work with the designer, we work with the construction firm that we select through a request for qualification. So it's qualifications based, and we finish that design, and then we go into construction. Gives us a lot of flexibility and ability to work through scheduling, phasing, doing value engineering, trying to actually reduce the cost, look at other alternatives to get the best product that we can. And then they'll actually, part of this contract will be with the construction firm is actually doing some public outreach and things and building that in. They have actually already done some as part of their submittal qualifications that they provided to us. They were already polling downtown businesses, asking questions, trying to get a better feel for what it was going to be like working in that environment. So with that, the funds, as it was said, we are able to do that alternative delivery. So we'll work through to a final design. What you see is the cost for the designer and the construction firm to work with us to finalize that design. And then I'll come back to you guys with a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price from that contractor that we will use for our construction services.
Okay. Ballpark number?
Budget right now is $7 million.
7 million?
Mhm.
Okay. And I know obviously that can, hopefully it'd be great if it came in under that, but that's,
In
in
the
this
current
climate
environment,
right now, unlikely.
Exactly, yeah. But that's a good thing about the VE side, or the CMARs, we can do that value engineering with the contractor. And, they can look at certain aspects that we're looking at, not only from constructability, but also, hey, there's other products that maybe are cheaper or give you better value that provide the same benefit or goal that you're trying to achieve. Some of it's pretty straightforward, sidewalk, but when you're looking at, low impact development or those sorts of things, there's lots of options. So this gives us an ability with people that, both design it and construct it to work together to come up with the best design.
Jack,
Okay.
I would just say the value engineering options this allows is so much greater because you have the designer speaking with the contractor and the client all sitting down, bless you, talking about value engineering and getting you the best product at the cost that you can afford. And that's the value of this process.
Okay. Yes, Counselor Staley.
I did a little research on the company that won the bid. And so talking about saving some money, this is a large firm out of Phoenix. Will they be hiring local subs to save some money, or do they do everything in-house?
So there is a self-performance requirement that they have to meet, and I want to say it was 53%. Again, I apologize, I don't remember it off the top of my head. But outside of that, we do a subcontractor selection plan. And in their SOQ, they actually listed some of the local firms that they would anticipate using. And as we're going through that, part of the value engineering is going out. They will be doing they'll be doing their own procurement, and they will be accepting multiple bids, and then we'll be evaluating those based on, the bid number itself and other factors, again, to provide that best value.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jack.
Any other comments or questions from council?
Request, Mayor.
Yes.
I see Mr. Kellogg in the audience. You threw out the $7 million figure for the ultimate, or the project. I would just like to remind the public, could Mr. Kellogg come up and talk about what this project is so that we...
I'll be happy to cover that.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess it will be Manager Foggin then. I feel like an overview of the project, actually what this is for those in the public that don't understand what it is and what it's going to do to our downtown, it would be a nice brief overview.
Yeah, so we have been working on a streetscape project for the downtown for now what seems like forever, a few years. And the downtown project, Beale Street project, is basically a phased project that will bring improved drainage, increase the size, width of the sidewalk, and it will create what is known as an entertainment zone that will basically squeeze down Beale Street to be narrower, which will also cause traffic to go a slower speed. And the project will be, this phase of the project will run from 3rd to 5th Street on Beale. So it will be a widening of the sidewalk. It will be bump outs, landscaping at the bump outs, and new landscaping in the new sidewalk sections, and improved crosswalk visibility. There will be new benches, bike racks, lighting as part of that as well. And I think, Jack, that's pretty much all of it, right?
Yeah, I would like to mention, though, you'd said 3rd to 5th. Our current design is from 1st to 6th.
Yes.
So we got a
Sorry.
large piece of downtown. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'll cover lighting, new sidewalks, as it is, curb. It'll really improve the accessibility for downtown. It'll actually have some ADA parking stalls and things in it. So it'll greatly improve the accessibility and appearance of downtown.
Yeah.
Let's
Yes.
throw in where the funding comes from while we're at it.
Okay. Miss Tina, you want to come up and talk to funding? Yes, please.
Thank you.
When you have the expert,
I thought Jack would do it.
Yes. Well, it's a team effort.
He has no problem spending it. So the funding source, as Jack shared earlier, was originally going to be used with ARPA funds. However, we dedicated those funds towards our general fund services, which is an allowable use. And so the monies are coming from our sales tax dollars. So as part of that fund balance that we have, the council dedicated monies to be allocated to capital projects from our general fund excess reserves. And one of those projects is the downtown infrastructure or Beale Street infrastructure project.
so, I mean, long story short, it is possible to do this because of that reimbursement.
The non-tax dollars. I don't think
Right.
call it grant,
But-
you call it ARPA.
It's ARPA.
ARPA, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Planty? Jack, I do have one. You mentioned that the contractor has already done some preliminary work talking to some of the businesses downtown, and how was that received, these ideas? I mean, this whole plan of the streetscape change.
So downtown has been in support. We've done public outreach as part of our design concept report leading into final design. We were not a part, the contractors submit their submittal qualifications, and this was just something they did on their own to go out and get a feel for the downtown area. They listed some of the concerns, and that was accessibility, parking and things during construction, but as far as direct conversation with the downtown businesses that they contacted, we did not have any.
I was just wondering if they had mentioned anything, yeah, because you'd mentioned that earlier, that you didn't have any, and I knew that you didn't have any. I mean, I'm pretty sure that you hadn't had any contact. But did they, by chance, share any of that information with you? And that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, in the SOQ, it was the concerns that were captured by downtown. And that's what the contractor was looking for, is what are their biggest concerns while we're doing construction? And that was the parking and the accessibility, because some of those buildings, there's zero setback from the right-of-way, the front doors at the sidewalk. So it's going to take some creativity to provide the least impact to some of those businesses that have a single access into their facility.
Okay, I think we've covered all the bases then.
And just as a reminder, there is a webpage that covers the design, that people can get a better visual of what that will ultimately look like.
Well, and that's a good point. Thanks for that reminder, Manager Foggin. So,
Yeah, thank you.
okay. Hearing no other comments or questions, can we have a motion then for item C, Beale Streetscape and Improvements CMAR?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Do we-
second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 6D, Resolution Number 5434, authorization to submit an application for the Reconnecting Communities Pilot Discretionary Grant Program. On June 29th, 2022, the United States Department of Transportation issued a notice of funding opportunity for their Reconnecting Communities Pilot, RCP, discretionary grant program. The purpose of this grant is to help reconnect communities by removing, retrofitting, or mitigating highways or other transportation facilities that create barriers to community connectivity, including to mobility, access, or economic development. The City of Kingman intends to apply for approximately $40,830,786 to construct the Rancho Santa Fe Parkway traffic interchange. Staff recommends approval. Manager Foggin.
Thank you. So I think I referenced our effort to look at federal grants just as a supplement of the Rancho project. The federal government basically opened this one. When I looked at it, it seemed to fit exactly what we were trying to do with traffic safety on Route 66. And if it saved everybody money, then we should try to get the grant. And so Tina and her team have been working on looking at this. They feel like it will work, and we're going to apply. Don't know if we'll be successful or not, but again, just trying to be frugal and look for grant opportunities. This was one of those. I know that it was part of the council's strategic plan to always try to find additional monies where we could, and this is just one of those opportunities.
We appreciate staff making those efforts. It sounds like a great idea. Discussion or questions for Mr. Foggin? Okay. Hearing none, can we have a motion for resolution number 5434?
So moved.
A second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Number 7, our department reports. 7A, golf course update. Mr. Mearsman.
Thank you very much for inviting me to share information about the golf course. pushed it there. And then should go there. I tried to go F5. There. All right, so this is going to be an update on the golf course. A lot of good stuff going on there, and real happy with how things are going there. So I'll get through this, and got a lot of slides. So we have a beautiful 18-hole golf course with very affordable rates, and try to keep it so people in our community can afford to play there. There's a lot of great history at our golf course that sometimes doesn't get talked about, and we've been talking more about it because it really is great. And Haley Bradley had the idea about putting these historic pictures in the clubhouse, which are awesome, and they get a lot of people looking at them and are really intrigued by them. So here's our staff there. There's me at the top, and Patrick Friend is our golf course superintendent, doing a heck of a job there. Sam Hewitt is our new Class A PJ professional, doing a great job, and Haley Bradley. We have a great team. In our grill, Sam, the first Sam, is Sandra Worcester. She's our food and beverage, takes care of our food and beverage area. And we have over 100 years of experience in golf course operations, and we also have over 100 years of experience in food and beverage operation, with 'cause Sam Hewitt has had a lot of experience there as well. So we've got a lot of experience there, and they're really doing a lot of good stuff. We're doing more and more non-golf events, which is exciting. We've had the grill expansion, the patio, which gives us more enclosed areas under roof, and with the event pad, we've had weddings, different galas, and celebration of life, just a lot of other events that we're getting more and more non-golf events, which is exciting to get there. The challenge department that the golf course is having, just like all of our other departments, basically is finding bodies to work. I mean, it's challenging. I think all businesses are having that challenge. I see a lot of help wanted ads everywhere, and so we're having those challenges as well. Without inmate labor, that's caused us a lot of challenges. You see the numbers there of what we're down labor-wise there. And part-time employees, it's challenging to get part-time and seasonal employees that want to work. And but we're doing a good job, and our staff's doing a good job when we don't have them. So it's a challenge, but they're working their way through it. So the golf course is one of 4 divisions in the Parks and Recreation Department, obviously, and we're quality of life. That's what we're about. And quality of life makes Kingman a great place to live, and our golf course adds value to every property in Kingman. Some people may not like it, but it does add value to their property. So let me go back there. Anyways, and motels, restaurants, local businesses benefit with people coming to our golf course. Improves the health and wellness of people that play golf and get out there and enjoy it. The golf course is a very valuable asset, a quality of life asset. If you want doctors in your hospitals and businesses in your business park, the golf course is an important thing to have. Charitable groups benefit over, and this number is low right now, $250,000 a year. Nucor just had an event last weekend, and they generated over $120,000 for their charity. So I mean, that's for their charity. That's not including what we made. So I mean, that's just a number that gets lost in it's not included in anything. It's really a valuable number, I think. So we have daily specials for seniors, veterans, educators. We have great practice facilities there that a lot of people don't know about. You can go there and putt and chip and enjoy that. High school golf, we have over 1,400 rounds of high school golf there. High school and junior golf is the future of golf, so it's very, very important. Our junior program is really a great junior program. We have over 150 participants in that. We have 2 sessions. We have one in the summer, one in the fall, and it's been really, really good. They've done a really good job there. Haley Bradley does a good job with that, and our other staff has been kicking in, helping out with that, and it's just a really, really good program. And this is something that our new golf professional came to us with, and it's really been a good thing. Golf 101. it's for beginners. Basically, golf can be an intimidating sport, and this will make people feel a little more comfortable when they go to play in their company's golf outing. So it teaches you the basics of the game, and then you can go on from there. Tournaments and outings, we have quite a few tournaments and outings, and here's the tournaments that we have, and to the right there is the numbers that they've either increased by this year, or some of them, one of them has decreased, but the rest of them have all gone up pretty substantially, and some of them have the same number. And I don't want to leave out our men's club. We have a very, very active men's club. We have over 115 members in our men's club, and they have 5 tournaments a year besides the weekdays that they play. So disc golf's been another thing that we've done that's been really good. It brings revenue to our slow times in the afternoon. You can't go out and play disc golf on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning, but in the afternoons it brings business to us, and it's been a good increase for our food and beverage as well. Basically, we'd like to talk about best practices and industry standards, because it's important. This is really important with the growth of our business. You know, there's a lot of things you could do back when we had under 20,000 rounds, that when you're getting up to 30,000 rounds and getting to 35,000 rounds, you've got to really start running it and making sure people are doing some of the things that they're supposed to do. The industry standard is a 50-30 rule. Basically, 50% of a course's revenue is generated at 30% of their available tee times, which for ours, it's basically 6 till 10 o'clock in the morning on the weekends is our busiest time. So it's just interesting that that's a very, when the majority of your revenue is generated. Another thing, best practices, golf cart traffic is very damaging to the turf. Keep your carts on the path as much as you can. You know, if you hit the ball 200 yards down the fairway, drive down the path and then turn out in 200 yards down. So it's just, if you can keep it in, this is just a good example of some areas where we've lost turf just because of the cart damage, and it wears it out right in front of the green. That's the challenging thing. The 90-degree rules, like I said, where you drive down, you hit the ball, you drive over in the rough and turn where it's not as damaging on the turf. And when you get down around the greens, get your cart on the path and walk to the green instead of parking right in front of the green. So it's little things that really will make a difference if we push that, you know. And so we're just trying to get the word out there and do that more often. Safe golf cart operation is very important, obviously. 2 people to a cart only, stay off the slippery slopes, and valid driver's license is required for it. And you know, we do have a challenge with our carts getting damaged. So, and it's important, this is another thing that's important, best practices, pairing up groups to force them as best you can. It keeps the play moving more consistently. 2 players to a fleet cart, you know, minimize the cart traffic and wear and tear on the carts as well. We don't tee golfers off on the number 10 tee in the morning early for the safety of our maintenance team, because they're out there doing the work, trying to get the work done, and you can't have people hitting balls into them either. So we try to limit that. You know, there might be an occasion that we do it, but we try to limit that. And here's one: we don't like to make special deals for squeaky wheels. Everybody wants their special deal. They want their own rate, and so we try to be consistent in how we feel it's important to treat every customer the same, whether they're a season pass holder or they're a once-a-year golfer, or they come out as from a neighboring town. We want to treat everybody with respect and treat them all equally. So another thing, all alcoholic beverages must be purchased at our grill. You can't bring your own alcohol in. It jeopardizes our liquor license, so we really push that and try to keep that to a minimum. Slow play, 6-somes and 7-somes. Like I said, back in the day when we had 20,000 or less rounds of golf, you could do those kind of things, but 6-somes and 7-somes play slow, and some 6-somes and 7-somes, if they're all good golfers, might play along pretty fast, but you get some, and everybody sees it, and they're all like, if they can do it, why can't we do it? So, you know, it's important that we enforce these things, and it's best practices. When people come here and see some of these things like this, they're like shocked that this has been allowed even at a municipal golf course. So, you know, we're just trying to keep things consistent with what's going on in the country, basically. Here's another good one: repair ball marks. I mean, a lot of people don't do it. If you've played golf, you've seen it. It takes 5 seconds to repair a ball mark, And a repaired ball mark can heal within 24 hours. A ball mark that doesn't get repaired can take 7+ days to heal, and it's bumpy and rough to putt over. So anyways, it's an important thing. So, and fill your divots, obviously, and it's important to step them down. That way you're stepping down that turf that was tore up around the edge. You're stepping that down into the sand, and it will just heal in a lot faster. Raking bunkers, obviously, is important, so you're not hitting on somebody's footprint. Here's one you're not going to like. The fleet carts. We were hoping to have the fleet carts by the 5th, which is tomorrow, and now they're saying it's pushed back till October 22nd. But we ordered them September 15th of 2021, so it's not anything that we've done, and it's the production of golf carts is down, and we're just hoping we get them now on the 22nd, so we'll keep you all posted on that. The golf course maintenance operation, we got a heck of a team there doing a heck of a job. Patrick Friend, like I mentioned earlier, Ron Ackerson is our assistant superintendent. We have a lot of key team members there that work hard to keep the place as nice as they can. We feel like detailed daily work schedules are equal productivity, and we have very detailed worksheets that each person comes in and looks what they're doing that day and checks it out and gets going to work. We have detailed job descriptions for each job, so you're getting consistency on the golf course. Course improvements, obviously we try to keep the best playing conditions possible, manage irrigation to conserve water, very important to us. Our staff maintains the grounds and buildings, and we've put in over 7,000 feet of curbing around areas to keep the traffic on the cart paths when we can. A lot of subsurface drainage we've put in. Leveling tees, stormwater retention areas, which I'll talk a little more about those in a little bit here. Here's some areas where we put curbing in, and it's a labor saver too. In the past, you see those poles there, they used to have to weed eat around every pole, and it's also a trip hazard. That was the curbing, nice clean look, you step up there, and so it's made it a lot better and a lot more appealing to the eye. Another thing that we put cobblestone around ball washers and benches. Back in the day, you used to have to stand in the mud to wash your golf ball or to get to the bench. Our turf type is cool season turf grass, which is, it's challenging here to say the least, especially in the heat of the summer. Obviously, the soil quality is not very good here compared to what I've seen at other places, but we work hard to try to keep it good. And it dries out quickly. And actually, healthy turf requires less water than unhealthy turf, so it's important to try to keep it healthy. Stormwater retention areas, which I mentioned I'd talk about a little bit. It contains the water to replenish the aquifer and keeps it from washing onto the golf course. It keeps it from flooding the neighborhoods downstream, allows the sediment to settle out, and there's just a lot less cleanup, and the golf course is playable soon after a rain. And this year is a great example of how this has helped us out. With the stormwater retention areas we've had, this year we've lost 0 days to golf because of rain. So that's encouraging. And we also didn't flood any houses, which is another good thing. So, and here's the different stormwater retention areas that we've added since 2007, over 5 million cubic acre feet of stormwater retention. And there's also a future that we can add where we've got other areas where we can add more stormwater retention. And this is the stormwater retention areas that work. Like I say, it settles in there and it settles down into the aquifer and releases downstream if it overflows those. Water conservation, I mentioned, is very important to us. We know when we need to irrigate. We have a moisture meter that we check to see how much moisture is in the ground in the root zone area. And we also check the soil temperature. And like I said, with cool season grasses and our soil temperatures get to 138 degrees sometimes, it's very challenging to keep the turf healthy. But another thing we talk about is people wonder why we water during the day. We don't really water during the day. We syringe 5 minutes, and that cools the turf canopy, and it also allows you to run shorter settings at night. And so that's why we do that. People are like, what are you doing watering during the day? We don't really water during the day. Like I said, we syringe it to cool it. So, it's a good thing. Irrigation runtime audit, we monitor that daily, basically, and several times a day. Sometimes the wind picks up, the humidity comes up, you're having to adjust. And what I've found here is it's very challenging if you have too much water and the monsoons come. that water does not go away. So it is a very challenging thing when the humidity gets up. Irrigation head audits, making sure they're all performing properly. And anybody that has a sprinkler system around their house can understand what we're dealing with this, because it's very challenging to keep that all functioning properly. If the sprinkler heads aren't performing properly, you'll get donut-looking areas around them, and the grass gets growing over them. There's just all different things that can affect the performance of the irrigation heads. Incorporating, and this is some of the other stuff we've been doing, incorporating drought-tolerant seeds to when we overseed, improve cultural practices, aerification, spiking, and things like that. A huge impact, and it's been a big help. And like I say, maximizing irrigation performance is very, very important with the water situation that we have. Another thing is getting back to the desert, and what else we've done there, and I'll show you a couple slides earlier. And also we've had dry well installations where we put dry wells down in the dry lake areas where the water accumulates and stays there, and then the water penetrates down into the aquifer faster. And it was really amazing. When we had a big monsoon rain, you could see the water gulping down into the pipe, I mean, which is pretty impressive to see. So, and there was a video of it. have to try to find that video because it would be a good one to have here. Back to desert, and these are areas where we've removed the turf and put it back to desert. And there's more areas we can do, but it's not as simple as shutting the irrigation off. You have to remove the soil and remove the sod and remove the sprinklers and then bring some desert scape in. Some of the areas we've done, this is by 16, between 16T and the fairway. That's a large area. And then we've done several other smaller areas, but we'll be doing more and more of that in the future, obviously. So, communication with our customers, very important. Follow us on Facebook, obviously, the website, stakeholder meeting. We had a stakeholder meeting a couple weeks ago, very, very good. A lot of input from some of our customers, which is good. And the City Expo, we've had surveys about the junior program and other things that we've done. We try to get as much information as we can. Obviously, the Park Commission, Citizens Academy is another one we have at the golf course. And we share a lot of good information about the golf course. We're working on an email list with everybody so that we can just shoot them out emails and do a better job of that. We're working on a fee study right now. The last time our fees were adjusted was in March of 2018, and we have 16 different categories of rates, which is challenging when you have that many. And that's not including daily specials and tournament rates and things like that. We're looking at even a couple more rates possibly. We've had this question before from a council member or two before about why don't we have a non-resident rate? And somebody brought that up at our meeting, and we did have a non-resident rate until a previous manager didn't think that we needed it, and we think it's a good idea, but I think what we're leaning towards doing is having a resident discount instead of a non-resident rate. So you're not telling people, we're going to charge you more because you drove over here from Havas or wherever. We're going to give our locals, the people that live in Kingman, a discount. We think it's a better avenue to go to do that. So with that, that's about all I have, I guess. And thank you again for the opportunity. And I've said this before, thank you, Council, Mayor, Manager Foggin, for caring about quality of life in Kingman, because it is very important, and we couldn't have the amenities we have without your support. So thank you very much.
Well, Mike, thanks for the update on the golf course. It's always neat when you're coming eastbound from downtown up to Stockton Hill Road and you look off to the right, we have that beautiful golf course. So we appreciate all the work that is being done there.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions from council? Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Councilor.
Mike, I just want to say thank you. You and your staff work really hard. A lot of different pieces to Parks and Recs and golf, and thank you. You do make our community a lot more fun, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Great. Thanks. Item 7B, Police Task Force Update. Chief Cooper.
Thank you. Mayor, council, appreciate it. I think I did it right. Are you impressed, Annie? Thank you. So what I'm going to present to you, something came up a few months ago, I believe, and I felt it was a good option or opportunity for me to give you a report on our task force participation. I just need to figure out how to. So currently, the police department, we're part of 3 task forces. First one's Magnet. Most of you are familiar with that. That's probably our most involved, most moving pieces that goes on. More resources are contributed to that. We're also part of a Western Arizona DUI task force, and we're part of GET'em, which is the state gang task force. And I'll talk about all of those briefly. At least I'm promising that it'll be briefly. So Magnet was established in 1987. The police department was the initial part, and our leadership at the time initiated this and worked on it. So it's been going well, and it's been successfully operated since 1987. It's one of 4 in the state of the longest-running functional task forces in the state, something I'm very proud of. It's comprised of members of the Kingman Police Department, members of Lake Havasu City Police Department, Bullhead City Police Department, Mojave County Sheriff's Office, and the Mojave County Attorney's Office. And they are all part of it, as in they have full-time staff contributed to this task force at 3 different locations. We have the main campus here in Kingman, which is where the leadership is and the main oversight and direction is, but Lake Havasu City has something in their facility, and Bullhead City also has, I guess, satellite offices, but they are dedicated to the Magnet mission. Up until 2017, the Highway Patrol, Department of Public Safety, was part of the task force, and in 2017, because of mission change, different leadership, different priorities with DPS, they left our task force to form their own. So they left the building as well. Who did remain was GET'em. That question was brought up, I think, one time. GET'em wasn't a formal member of the task force, but they were co-located. We had space, and they were using it. So in June of this year, because of space needs, operational needs, and evidence needs, they left the building, and that was the lease agreement that the council took action on, and it raised the question. The mission of the task force is to develop and maintain intelligence information and sharing that information amongst the other agencies in the county in our area, apprehend those involved with that illegal drug activity, using all the resources available, and obviously successfully prosecuting those that are involved in that as well. And ultimately, the goal is to disrupt illegal organizations or enterprises. Maybe you've heard the term drug trafficking organizations or DTOs. A lot of what they're investigating and a lot of what they're doing is as a result of what these drug trafficking organizations are doing. Cartels are included in that. It's kind of a hot button item. With all the fentanyl coming into the state, that's increasing, but meth, cocaine, none of that is decreased, right? It's just fentanyl's the shiny new object in the drug world. So we serve as the primary fiduciary of Magnet, and we've done that since the beginning of that. We have the oversight of the financial operation of the task force, but as a result of our responsibility, the police department provides a task force commander, and I wanted to introduce Lieutenant Mike Godfrey's in the back. Just have him stand up briefly. Mike's been with the police department over 20 years now, and he's the commander over the task force. And next to him is Carly Smith. Carly, if you don't mind standing up since you're here. Carly is a full-time employee that's provided, you can sit down, unless you want to stand up. Carly's our intel analyst / administrative assistant. She's kind of performing 2 duties. So we provide the task force commander, support services administrator as well. A lot of you know, maybe you don't, Jennifer Sahaki. She's out of my office. But half of her time, if not 3/4, is dedicated to managing the finances and the grants, and again, the fiduciary part of that. Also a detective is what the police department, Kingman Police Department, provides. Funding for the task force is from assorted sources. There are some general fund monies. Commander Godfrey's salary and my support services administrator, Jennifer, comes out of my employee budget fund every year. We also have RICO funds that pay for some of the expenses. ACJC burn monies come from that, as well as HIDA funding These acronyms, you should be familiar with them over the last year. There's a lot of IGAs that are coming through and grants that are coming through that you are approving, and I appreciate that we can apply for them and agree to them and sign for those things. And some of that also helps to pay for the detective. I have a full-time detective, and that's just from me. There's also full-time detectives, sergeants from the sheriff's office, Havasu, Bullhead City. County attorney has attorneys on location full-time, and they're all dedicated to the mission of the task force. I mentioned RICO. RICO's a term that you probably hear. I think it's important maybe just to mention to you that RICO stands for, I have to remember this too, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations. So we own the building. We currently own the building. It's at a secret, nondescript location, but we own the building outright. We've owned it for about 10 years. We purchased it. Magnet location has been at different locations since the beginning. But the monies to purchase it, for example, were through RICO funds. And what RICO does is it allows us to have enhanced prosecution, enhanced penalties, and it allows us civil actions against those that are responsible, those organizations. And it also allows us to take those resources, those funds, those monies, and use them for law enforcement purposes. So one of those things is we did purchase this building about 10 years ago. Magnet, I gotta say, it's well respected. The team there is doing good work. Lieutenant Godfrey's been over it for about 2 years now. And in that 2 years, they have been recognized at a state level, not just locally, they're well respected and feared, I would say, amongst those that should fear them, because they are everywhere. I know you don't need to worry about that, but the people listening perhaps need to know that they are everywhere. But they are revered, and they've been awarded at a state level, recognized at a state level several times just in the past couple of years, and on a national level. They do partnerships with other states, other task forces. A lot of things happen in our area with our freeways and our whatnot. So they do great work. They provide me with the monthly activity report, so I'm very familiar with their activity. I'm never disappointed. I'm always impressed with the work that they're doing. They're involved with community outreach, public education, school talks. They're also part of, Lieutenant Godfrey's part of he's in partnership with the MSTEP program. There's certain things, the opioid fatality review, Deputy Chief Joel Freed's part of that. Commander Godfrey's been in part of different community involvements with the MSTEP as well, so that's also a good fit. Next one, so that's all the Magnet information. If you have questions, please, I would love to give time for that. The second task force that we're part of is the Western Arizona DUI Task Force. This is a little simpler task force, but it allows my officers to work overtime, specifically focused on DUI enforcement during holiday weekends or holiday times when it's associated with DUI, right? Celebrations, impaired drivers out on the roads. That funding comes through the governor's office, GOHS. You've seen that acronym in a lot of council action items as well, with the funding we get from that. Click it or ticket. DUI enforcement pays for that. They've also provided over the last several years a vehicle for us. It's a vehicle that's kind of unmarked. You may or may not be familiar with it, but it's an unmarked vehicle that's outfitted and it's equipped all on a grant from the governor's office, Highway Safety, and it's designed for looking for aggressive drivers. So it's out there all the time. Also, we've had a couple radar speed trailers over the years. We still have them. You'll see them in place, different locations around town. It's just kind of a deterrent and an educational tool. We also can do traffic studies with those. Recently, an intoxilizer is being purchased through a grant. An intoxilizer is that breath test device that measures your alcohol content, and it's an expensive instrument, and we have one of those as well. And also PBTs. PBTs are portable breath test devices that we get through a grant through governor's office. That allows us for roadside analysis, underage consumption, juvenile parties, things like that. So that's the Western Arizona DUI Task Force. And then the last task force that we're part of is GITM. GITM stands for Gang and Immigration Intelligence Team Enforcement Mission. That's run by the State Department of Public Safety. At one point, we had 2 officers assigned to the task force. The state pays, I believe it's up to about 75% of the employee cost. So it was kind of a win-win. I don't currently have two. I changed that just because of different staffing issues to one, and that position isn't currently filled, but we still have hopes and plans of filling it as soon as we can. It's a staffing, as soon as that allows that, we'll move somebody into that. But the Get 'em is a good thing. It's locally, keeps track of, especially if we have a graffiti spree and it's somebody that's wanting to be a gangster or pretending to be a gangster, right? Different outlaw motorcycle gangs raise their presence once in a while. Our association with them helps deal with that. It's a force multiplier. All of these task forces are a force multiplier for us. So there's definitely benefit. And I have to just say that Mike Mearsman mentioned quality of life. Everything that the task forces are doing is improving the quality of life in the community. And they're dealing with these things as aggressively as they can, and I'm very proud of the work that they're doing. So, that's that.
Great, thank you, Chief Cooper. We appreciate all that is done in keeping our community safe. So, comments or questions from council? Yes.
Do you still
Councilor.
have the Junior Police Academy going?
Yes,
Thank you, Rusty.
yes, we do.
Thank you for all you do.
We've had to limit it to one because of the way the schools are starting now, so I'm disappointed in that. Having two was nice, but yes, we are.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Oh, yes, Counselor.
I wanted to ask you about Magnet. I know that Detective Godfrey is very skilled, but one does not seem like enough to allocate towards such a huge task of overseeing drug trafficking coming in on I-40. Is that a department that we need to think about getting more funding for to expand, or does it just work where everybody has one from each area and
You said one
one detective? You said that Kingman PD has one employee that is assigned to Magnet, and so I was just asking.
So they're one of several, multiples.
Okay.
But we do have discussions in our strategic plans, and Lieutenant Godfrey's probably wanting to rise up and said, I've been asking for one for the
He's
last couple of
nodding.
years. Yeah, because he does. And that's something that we do have on our radar to do. But like a lot of the other positions, I got to staff some other parts first before I can commit somebody there. But there's definitely talks, and there is work to be done there. The more people, the more issues can be addressed and eradicated. But I will say that my one detective is just one. There's a sergeant that the sheriff's office provides. He oversees his squad, and there's a total of, I believe, 3. We also have, I didn't mention this, federal partners. So the DEA is part of our task force as well, and that adds some little ancillary funding too, and they pick up some overtime costs and different things when we work in partnership with them. It's a very dynamic, it's somewhat complicated, and so, yes,
Okay.
we want to, there's a need. And I would say that what you mentioned is what Lieutenant Godfrey's tasked with overseeing and herding. He interacts with other department heads, right? He also makes sure policies follow, that the safety measures are followed. He has a building that needs facility repairs, and he's coordinating the meetings with the board. There is a board that they answer to. He answers to a board, and I'm the chairman of that board, and the other members of that board are the chief of Bullhead City, the sheriff, the county attorney, and the Bullhead City chief. So we have those meetings quarterly. So there is oversight. Appreciate the question. I went a little further, but.
That's okay.
appreciate it.
I appreciate the information because I want to make sure that we are, as a council, supporting you in any way you need.
And you are. Our goal is for the task force to be self-funded. There are some general fund monies contributed to it because we know if we didn't have the task force, we'd be spending monies anyway. So this is a good investment, and it is a force multiplier. But there have been some changes in asset forfeiture laws over the last year and a half or so, and that has impacted the ability for us to do certain things. But we're being creative, we're limiting some things, we're trying to, make best use. But the ultimate goal is for it to be self-funded through their enforcement action. It's not a moneymaker, it's not meant to be a moneymaker, but the reality is what's happening and what's providing these things, there's people making money off of the poison that's being put into our streets. And so if we have the ability to enforce, it's not just make an arrest, but anything that they've obtained through the course of illegal activity, we're going to take it and you will not get it back. That's our ultimate goal. And use it for betterment of our community, support the mission.
That's great. Can you, I don't know how to ask this without asking you to give away too much information, but about Magnet, it sounds like it's a lot of bigger drug trafficking, but what about the small local meth maker? Do we have, I'm trying to choose my words carefully. Do we have a group of officers that are just assigned to try to help protect our community from those types, or does Magnet have to do that as well?
So Magnet is responsible for a wide range of things.
Okay.
I also have detectives, general assignment detectives that are responsible for that. We're developing a street crimes unit as well, and that'll have a little more focus. Used to call it flex team. So we're working on the development of a street crimes
think
unit.
that's
That
what
would
I'm
work
asking about.
and enhance what Magnet's doing and help some more of the low-level folks that are out there. But I will say this, a lot of the low levels are connected to the big ones,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And there are times where resources are addressed to that bigger person, because we can arrest them or remove that, and it curtails what's being put into our community for a little while. And then there are times where things get handed off to other agencies because it's more than what we are able to commit to. So
For a street crimes unit, would you be needing to open up more positions on the police force for that as well?
So everything, we, currently with the staffing, if all positions were full, I could staff a street crimes unit. But as we project looking forward, it's kind of like adding a detective for Lieutenant Godfrey. There is, but that's a new position, right? I don't want to take away from what we currently have to
Yeah.
assign that. So it's all about new positions. And those are things that we're working out in our plans, looking forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I have a question,
Yes,
Mayor.
Counselor.
So I get asked about human trafficking. Where does this fall in your task force?
So we run across that quite a bit, right? People are being used to traffic and smuggle. The task force is part of a larger state group of folks that we know when to hand something off. Everything always seems to kind of have a drug relation. Even on our gang task force, there's always a drug nexus. Human trafficking, sex crimes, oftentimes there's a drug nexus. So that does get included in what they come across. So when that does happen, we call upon our relationships that we've developed. Federal partners are huge because they can handle the international connectivity to it, or crossing state lines and it becomes a federal issue. Because of the relationship that we've developed, we've been able to just make a phone call and we have resources. We have additional people. We have a U.S. attorney involved in the conversation as opposed to a county attorney, because there may not be a local crime that's best suited to charge them. So they do. That's not their primary function, but they don't ignore it when they run across it.
Sure, thank you.
Well, once again, Chief Cooper, we appreciate all that our police force does. And I wrote down the catchphrase, force multiplier, exactly what you're talking about, all these different levels of how we can help fight crime.
A lot of money and resources are committed and invested, and it's important to understand that's the benefit. Yeah, we do get some stuff in return, and that's community wellness. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Item 7C, dog ordinance and enforcement. Manager Foggin?
So this actually belongs to Chief Cooper and his brother. Not true.
Well, I was thinking it might be Chief Cooper that just going to stay up there.
I am staying up here.
I'm going to start off.
Actually, Carl's going to start.
Carl's
and
gonna lead
then-
off.
So we're going to talk about the ordinance and then the enforcement of the ordinance. So
Okay.
it's kind of a tag team effort.
Great.
Yeah, there was obviously some questions about the dog ordinance and enforcement. So, and I'm specifically talking about dog at large, dog bites, vicious dog. And I would say probably about 18 months ago, Mayor Miles had spoken with me and wanted to address or check and see if there's any issues with our ordinances. And we had done a pretty in-depth review at that time, my team and myself, to look and see where we're at and how it looks in comparison with the rest of the state. And Ron uses the phrase best practices, and that's where we're at. I had looked at the state statutes, which are actually under Title 11, which applies to the county, but ours are very similar to how the county statute is written. I looked at various cities across the state, and if you look at kind of that bell curve, we're at the top of that curve. There's some cities that are a little bit more lax, some a little more strict. And when I say strict, it's more of the end run punishment level. Some of the requirements, if there's a vicious dog, they're talking about some of these restraint requirements that could include up to 6-foot fence and concrete flooring underneath the kennels and whatnot. We don't have that in our code. And I'm glad we don't have that in our code, because that code gives us that flexibility. And this is what happens with our cases is you don't need a 6-foot fence if you have a vicious Chihuahua, but you might need one if you have a vicious, big 200-pound dog. So having some of those requirements just kind of take that discretion away from the judge as well as the prosecutor to make sure you get the best solution for the best situation for those best facts. So like I say, looking at our ordinances, we're where we need to be, in my opinion. Talk to my prosecutors, they feel the same way. They feel very comfortable with those ordinances. And I know they communicate pretty regularly with PD to make sure that they're clear for them so they understand where things are at. The entire animal code itself, yeah, we'd like to go through and update, and there may be some changes that we might want to look at, but it wouldn't be necessarily these particular issues. And just looking at my office, we prosecute about 1,200 to 1,300 cases a year, general crimes. I think last year we had 12 dog at large. In the couple of years prior to that, we're about 5 each year prior to that. We've had, I think, in the past 3 years, 5 vicious dog hearings. And those vicious dog hearings are when code enforcement comes across a dog that they think is vicious and is a danger to the community. So what they do is they contact us. We file a petition with the court to make a determination on, have the court make a determination that that dog is a danger to the community. And while there is discretion in what the court can issue, the presumption is the dog will be euthanized. We have had instances in the past where maybe there's some feeling that that dog is maybe being able to be rehabilitated, but then we'd be requiring those specific structures to keep them contained or specific training or something along that line. I think a few places even, basically exile some of the animals. I'm not a fan of that because I don't think it's right to export our problem to another community, so I've always opposed that. But overall, I think my office addresses these situations clearly and with justice in mind. When we find people that have been impacted, that have damages, we definitely seek restitution, as restitution is available when a dog or a cat actually even gets loose and causes some sort of damage. So I think that overall, that's just kind of the top look of where the ordinances are at. I feel pretty comfortable where our ordinances are at. And I think Rusty was going to address the more the on-the-ground enforcement aspect.
So in a month, I think I'm gonna explain to you a rebranding of the code enforcement. There's gonna be a new look, there's a new vision, there's a new mission. The expectations are made clear. Where there's been areas of discretion, there's certain areas where that discretion has been tightened up a little bit. So there's a new training program. 2 years ago, we restructured it, so the oversight of it is different now. And has a lot to, some of this is I have a lot of young, inexperienced officers that are coming in. When I say officers, these aren't sworn police officers. These are civilian staff that are being put in, they're given a badge, they're given a uniform, and they're out there. We teach them, train them to enforce. So we do consider them officers. So we are rebranding, we're re-clarifying. So some of these topics that came up at a recent meeting are things that we've worked on. I totally understand the community's concern. Some of it's misunderstanding, but in specific to dogs and code enforcement with dog enforcement, animal control, the officers are often faced with 2 types of reporting persons. Anonymous calls, if anonymous dictates, the priority of what they're looking at, there is some discretion there. If it's an anonymous call and there's not a victim, I'll just say the victim, then it's up to the officers to identify what resource they're going to do or how far they're going to go with it. If it's just a couple of silly dogs, when I say silly, they just obviously got out of a yard, there has been direction and allowed for the officers to, if they can find where the dog is going back to, provide some direction, counseling, education to the dog owners. 100% compliance and everything we do in code enforcement is always the goal. It doesn't get that way, but that's still our goal. But they have, at that situation, they have the latitude, I give them the latitude of providing verbal counseling. It needs to be documented, there needs to be a report. If the dogs are more aggressive, then they need to take different action. Now, if there's a victim or a reporting party, if there's somebody, and this is what's new, I guess, we're giving them clear direction. It's not up to them to determine or interpret what an aggressive dog is. And that's something we've worked with Carl's office so that all of us, all of my officers are working off the same understanding of what an aggressive dog is. So if there's a victim or a witness and their peace is disturbed, then the direction now, this is something that we are doing to address the issues. We're taking away the wiggle room on some of these hot topic items that have been brought up, is they will then put more effort, more resources, make sure there's certain elements in the investigation that take place. Because before we can return it or send it over to Carl's office, it's a vicious dog, or there's going to be a citation issued or a criminal complaint that's going to ultimately go to the city attorney's office. There's things that they have to obtain, and there's things that they have to determine in the course of the investigation. So that's what we're doing. So recent examples were presented that weren't all entirely. There's other factors that go on in an investigation. If it's an anonymous reporting party, it's kind of limited in what we can do. And the officer can be a witness, but when we have a witness that identifies themselves and can want to be part of that, it sure helps in the prosecution. Takes out the the opinion piece of it. So there's also the part of when we do a criminal investigation, and it's going towards, we have a witness, we have victims, we have somebody that wants something done. Oftentimes, people have different accounts of what happened. There's inconsistencies in what they saw. Sometimes people don't want something done initially, but they may want something done later when they realize there's a medical cost. I wonder if that doesn't quite work with what they're looking for satisfaction, then they may want to, things change often. And in any case, the officers are expected to provide a quality investigation so that they can write a ticket, because they know that it ultimately could end up in court. It could be a judge making a decision. City attorney's office is going to provide direction as well. So, but part of the rebranding is that, taking away that discretion a little bit. I still want them to have that discretion, but there have been, like the recent example, I want to say the peace was disturbed. Someone's peace was disturbed where they were actually in fear of something. They weren't just annoyed by the dog pooping on the grass, but they were in fear. To me, that requires more follow-up by the officers, so that's been made clear. So all of what we've been putting in place for the last year and a half is addressing a lot of the concerns that were brought up.
So rebranding. I know up to now it's been called neighborhood services? And so now you're going to call it code enforcement?
No. We're going to keep
Neighborhood services?
neighborhood services, but the uniforms are going to look a little different. They're going to be wearing body camera now,
Okay.
because that's been a resource that they haven't had. They're going to be doing that now. We've changed their field training program. It's a little more structured. I have different leadership in place. We have, their oversight was under one side of the house. Now it's under the other side of the house, because it just needs more direction, more for their benefit, because the officers need that support, and they have that.
Well, neighborhood services, let's face it, is a more friendly term.
It is. When we were calling it code enforcement, and it wasn't, because I don't want to reiterate too many times, but voluntary compliance is the goal.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean there are times where that needs to not be the case. There's times where it needs to be more rapid, more urgent, more aggressive in our enforcement, and that's what they're doing.
Okay. Well, thank you for the report, both of you. Questions or comments from council? Yes, Councilor Saley.
Since I asked about this, my concern is just the citizens that were here, they had somebody living in their neighborhood who sounds more like a menace and is constantly causing problems for everybody that lives in that neighborhood, and part of the problems is with their pets. And so I just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep people safe in their neighborhoods. You shouldn't, you shouldn't have somebody move in and all of a sudden you can't go for a walk with your dogs, or you can't let your kids play outside because there are these dogs always roaming the streets and they're aggressive. So I wanted to make sure that we had things in place to keep people safe and a process where you could call and get some help so your neighborhood doesn't get turned upside down and you have to live in fear.
Yeah, we do. The cases individually have to stand on their own merit.
Mm-hmm.
And there is differences of nuisance, irritation, criminal, right? Those are three different levels that need to be met. But I agree with you, and we do have that discussion every time.
Good.
And I'm familiar with those cases that you're bringing up.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay. Once again, is it just coincidence, of course, that you both have the same last name? And,
Total coincidence.
And tag teaming and,
I think it's a good thing.
Cooper's an awesome last name.
Thanks again to both of you. We appreciate the report. Item 7D, Proposition 415 Ordinance Update. Manager Foggin.
Yeah, this one's pretty easy. We, when we brought the ordinance for Prop 415 to the council, there was something that was missed, and we just wanted to make the council aware of the correction that we are going to be looking for. So in bringing 415, the ordinance forward and having the council pass it, there was a rate that for the rental sales tax that was at 2% and wasn't called out. I believe the council, we feel like the council had agreed that it was, the increase for Prop 415 was 0.56 for anything that it was needed an increase. And the rental sales tax was not called out specifically in the ordinance. So it appears that it went from 2% to 3.06%. We understand that that is not the intention of the council. And when, if that is passed, we will have that corrected in the ordinance, recognizing that that was just really an oversight that wasn't caught by anybody. And so we just wanted to make you aware that we know about it and that recognize that that was an error. I can't remember if there was anything else, Carl. I mean, it's just that one piece that just we wanted the council to be aware of that. So that's really all that we have on that.
Okay, questions or comments? Yes.
I do have a question.
Councilor Family.
So has that been reflected on the information that's being presented on the website?
Yes,
Okay, so just to clarify, it's going to go from 2 to 2.56?
that's correct.
Okay, perfect,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay.
I believe there's actually a correction on a mailer that we were required to send out as well. We've done everything to correct it on our end. It's just the ordinance will be fixed as well. So.
Okay. Thank you, Manager Foggin. Item number 8, announcements by mayor, council members, and city manager. Manager Foggin again.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a few items here. We had a Prop 415 open house today at 4 o'clock that was recorded and will be on our Prop 415 webpage. But we're also offering another open house on the Tuesday, October 18th at 4 o'clock in council chambers again. Tri-City Council meeting will be held in Havasu. That will be October 19th at 10 o'clock, and that is, there will not be, I do not believe there will be any kind of virtual attendance option for that meeting. At least that was the conversation. If that changes, we'll let you know. And then finally, one of the bigger events that we look forward to every year is the Walk Away from Drugs, and would like to invite all the council to attend that and the public as well. It's always one of the bigger events. I know that people look forward to that. That is also October 19th. As I recall, the lineup for the actual walk is prior to 5 o'clock, and I believe the walk actually starts at 5:30. So they like the walkers to be there a little bit early, just to be familiar with the areas that they're going to walk. And I think there's 2 or 3 locations to walk, and those all lead to Centennial Park, where they put on just an absolutely great education fair with our public safety folks. We usually have state representatives from law enforcement agencies there as well. I think in the past I've walked with the DE agent from our area, and it's just a great event. So 10/19, that's a Wednesday. So that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you, Manager Foggen. Councillor Walker. Okay, Councillor Samley.
I just wanted to remind, I can't believe you didn't mention the Route 66 specs.
I was wondering about that too.
I'm going to give you a do-over.
I need a do-over. Thank you. I usually rely on people handing me notes, and Gary, darn it. So the Kingman Route 66 Fest is going to be October 14th and 15th. Really excited about this event. It is our second annual. We are actually looking for this to be an ongoing international event to bring people, tourism to our community. And so we're really excited to have our second annual event. It will be at Lewis Kingman Park. There's a car show, there's a motorcycle show, we have a large group of food vendors that have signed up, as well as arts and craft vendors that are going to be there. There's a beer garden that's part of that event that is being put on by our Main Street folks to help. That actually helps raise money for their projects that they're working on. So yeah, if everybody marks that on their calendar, come out and check it out. It's going to be a really fun event, and it's going to be growing over time. But it's, as far as I know, it's the actual only car show that's actually held on routes, physically on Route 66. So we're really, and motorcycles too, 2 different shows. So thank you for that reminder.
Of course.
The do-over was appreciated.
Of course. I did also want to say I rode in the parade with a few of us rode on the council wagon. So I want a big, huge thank you to Parks and Rec and all that they do, and Yvonne Cosio for the organization of the parade, and just it was a wonderful parade, and we love our wagon, and we love our wagon driver. He was very very good. So appreciated seeing everybody that went out for the Andy Devine Days parade.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Staley. Okay, Councillor Mello.
I wanted to mention that a few of us went to the barbecue for the commission boards. We haven't had a city council meeting since then. And just appreciate all our commissioners that participate. That's volunteer. It takes some time and energy, and we really appreciate you doing the legwork for us. It makes our job a lot easier. And it was a really nice barbecue to get to know some of our commission people. And then I also attended the Andy Devine Days parade. That was a good time, and like Chair said, thanks to the police, the city staff, and the Parks and Recs, everybody, it seemed like it was a huge turnout this year compared to last year, so that was a lot of fun. I also attended the on September 20th, the Arizona Department of Water Resources meeting regarding the INA, and a few of us were there as well. The mayor actually did read a letter of support for that, so that was a lot of information there. And there's a new program that we're trying to get started for our veterans, and it's going to be the week of Veterans Week, November 7th through the 13th. It's called Operation Greenlight. And all you got to do is get green light bulbs and change your light bulbs outside to the green light bulbs in support of our beloved veterans. So, like I said, brand new this year, but we're trying to get it to take off in Arizona. So I'd appreciate your support in that. And just a reminder, it would be a good time to buy some bus passes for our veterans. And you can do that through the city's website. And if you have any problems with that, please call our city clerk, Annie Meredith, and she can walk you through it. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Councilor Nelson. Okay. Obviously, I was able to attend a number of these different meetings, and just wanted to also announce that this Thursday, the Sheriff's Office, Don Bishop from the Sheriff's Office, is inviting everybody and reminding everybody about the Mojave County Community Town Hall, which will be held out at the Community College in conjunction with the Arizona Town Hall, and that will be Thursday, of course, October 6th from 5:30 to 8. And items that were going to be discussed are mental health, substance abuse, and homelessness. So that's something that's coming up on the calendar. And then, of course, this Saturday, the Mojave County Gardeners and their Dig It organization has they're having a tomato fest is one of the things, but anyway, from 12 to 4 over at the park. Remind me, Manager Foggen, which one that is? Which park that is at?
I'm not sure which park it's at.
Cecil Davis,
Oh,
that's
okay.
it. Thank you.
I'm
Thank you. Over at Cecil Davis. Yes, where the splash pad is at, that's right. Anyway, over at Cecil Davis Park from 12 to 4. So once again, a number of the different events that are coming up in our community. And we all talk about livability, and this is all these, of course, it requires us to participate too. And so it's good to get the word out about all these different things that are going on in our community. And I would invite all that can, if their schedule allows, to participate.
Yeah,
Manager Foggen.
and the open house, that town hall meeting
Yes.
does require sign up. There's limited seating for that.
Oh, that's true, there is, isn't there?
So,
So
yeah.
thanks for that reminder.
Yeah, just didn't want people to show up and not be able to attend. So if anyone's interested, I believe they can just do a search on the town hall meeting in Kingman, and it should pop up.
Nope, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So thank you. And that's all I have. So once again, then item number 9, then council requests for future reports and updates. Okay, hearing none, I would say that this meeting is adjourned. And of course, I do want to thank everybody for being here in chambers tonight, and also those who have watched via the internet. So thanks again, and have a good evening.